Hey there, folks. You're watching Chits and Cardboard, and this is Last Light. Last Light is a 4X game designed by Roy Cannaday from the Dice Tower and published by Grey Fox Games. Last Light is a game that allegedly plays in about an hour, which when compared to these epic, sprawling games such as Twilight Imperium or Voidfall, seems too good to be true. But is it really?
In Last Light, you are a civilization attempting to survive the heat death of the universe, gathered around the last white dwarf star to collect light. The first player who reaches 20 light is declared the winner. Light is gathered when playing the refresh action after building extractors on the outer and inner rings of the board, and for each ship around the star. You also gather light when completing private objectives or when playing the research action to research new technology.
There are some larger issues that we're going to get to later, but for now, we're going to talk about the depth. Last Light is fairly shallow. Most of the time, you're just choosing an action that you want to do, you play it, and then you perform the action. Most of those actions don't have much decision space, or they kind of make that decision for you. But is that really a bad thing? The answer to that is, well, it kind of depends. Do you want a game that you can play over and over and over with your friends with little emotional investment? Well, maybe this is a great game for you.
But, on the other side, if you're looking for this epic 4X where you're just building a civilization over time and it feels like eons are passing, this is not going to give you that. It just doesn't have the depth. Now, the short play time to this game is real. It does play in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And that's really critical to what we just said because the balance in this game is not great. The various techs, factions, so on and so forth feel super imbalanced. There's techs that are super strong and techs that are super weak. There's factions that just start off with crazy powers and factions that aren't all that impactful. And the short game time is necessary for something like that because if you don't have that, you just feel like you've been shafted and it's never a good feeling.
We'll get to our individual thoughts in a few minutes, but first we want to cover some of the big issues that we see with this game. Visibility is one of those big ones. Right now the board is empty. But once you get deep into the game, it's really hard to keep track of what's going on. When you have 4 players especially, there's a lot going on in this game and on the board. The sectors are not that large. The planets take up space. The extractors are small. It's hard to see where they are. Sometimes you have so many ships in one sector that are all duking it out. You don't really know where those ships are. Are they in this sector or that sector? Or it's really hard to tell. There's just so much going on in such small areas that it can really cause a problem for when you're trying to plan out your moves and your turns. On top of that, there's another issue, and that's dealing with color blindness. If you have a person in your game group, or if you yourself have color blindness, the game is not set up to be friendly for you. Now, I will admit that they do try on some of these planets, on the tokens underneath them. They do have different patterns, but again, it's not that visible. We have somebody in our game group who looked at the board and was like, how do I tell what's going on here? A lot of the game is based off of controlling different planets depending on their colors. And if you don't know what's going on there, it's really hard to maximize what you're really trying to do.
Additionally, this rulebook is just way too thin for the kind of game this is. You end up having to look up a lot of things that aren't straightforward. Rules are in multiple places, and some rules don't even get answered. Like, can I camp someone at their home base? Also, sidebar, the order they tell you the rules in is the order of the actions, and while that makes sense to get into the game faster, it doesn't answer some of the more edge cases, nor does it answer some of the more unique questions you might have during the game. What we think would have been really helpful is if they included some sort of frequently asked questions section or some sort of errata page or even a reference on the side that might handle some of those more edge scenarios. It would have just made the game flow a lot quicker your first time around. Now, that brings us to what is probably the biggest issue with this game. I want to preface with we bought the standard game, but if you want to see a creator talk about the deluxe game, Shelfside has a great review. We'll link it in the description. The component quality of this game is not good at all for the price. This game costs around $77 Canadian, and we have a few gripes with it. Firstly, and we'll show some in B-roll, the 1 light and the 5 light are way too close in size and not discernible enough whatsoever. The ships are just a weird art that doesn't quite make sense, and the cardboard looks even more cluttered on the board, so I ended up 3D printing some resin models to take over the cardboard. The board itself doesn't fold up in a way that's square.
Yeah.
And the cards fray so fast that if you don't sleeve them, especially the civilization cards, they're going to get frayed pretty badly. And also, the second they get exposed to humidity, like, look at this. See how it's not laying flat? Like, this is like bent. I can totally lift this off. That just shouldn't happen in a game of this price. And that does, unfortunately, kind of ruin the experience.
Yeah.
The thing about the epicness of 4X games that feels so epic is the fact that everything feels grandiose, everything feels premium. You feel like you're really a governor of this huge civilization, and this doesn't give that off.
No, it really doesn't.
Anyway, we're going to pop to our thoughts in a sec, but we wouldn't think it fair if we didn't just inform you of these caveats before telling you what we actually think about the game. So stick around for a sec. Jeff and I will be back, and we'll hit you with our thoughts of the game. Okay, so Jeff, we got to play this about 5 times in a few days, which is quite a bit. We played it 3 times the night we opened it, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the gameplay so far?
So for the gameplay, overall, I'll put it this way. Our second game, when we were about halfway through it, I ordered myself a copy. This is John's copy. I pre-ordered mine at 401 Games. The gameplay is quick, and like we said before, that is critical for this. If it was 4 hours long, then not so much. The balancing issues and everything like that, it wouldn't work well. There would be some real feels bad moments. I believe it was in our second game. I kind of got penned in and I felt like I couldn't really do anything because I was so far behind because I made a bad move early. So like we really had that feels bad moment, right? But I knew that this game's only going to last us about an hour. So cool, let's play it out and everything. We'll play it again. Yeah. So overall, I really like it. I think the combat is pretty good. There's dice rolling in it. I know you don't like it as much as me, but most of the dice options that happen, like they're all positive for the most part. It's either it works or it just doesn't work as good as it could, right? I like that you can develop up your armada. I like that you're expanding and exploring. Early on, you can get some real good advantages from the exploration tokens and finding out where the planets are that you really want to colonize. Overall, I really like it. The asymmetry too is great.
Yeah, I would generally agree with you. Mm-hmm. I think that the game is fantastic, and it has that I just want to play it again factor to
definitely.
it. Yeah. But it doesn't leave you after your game session thinking, what could I have done differently in this situation? There's not that much depth.
Yeah,
or
that's true.
Thought. It's not thought-provoking in that way. I think for like playing with a few buds or a few friends in an evening, slamming out 5 games, this is a great game for that.
Yes.
I do think there's diminishing returns on how good you can get. Like the skill ceiling is pretty low because, again, each decision is not as impactful as it leads on sometimes. There is not like an optimal path. A little bit of luck is involved in how well you'll do. But that doesn't mean it's unenjoyable, right? Again, the short play time is so important for that. Now, would I recommend this as a purchase? I mean, Jeff just told you he bought it after a couple plays, so he probably would. Yeah. I would say, it's tough because the game is not cheap. It's $77 Canadian. There's a lot of games you can get for $77
That's
Canadian.
very true.
That I'd recommend above this. Spirit Island, Dune Imperium, Beast. There's just I could go like any of my top 30 games that are under that price. I would recommend probably over this.
You're not wrong.
Now, this game, if it was just the game, price aside, like we didn't get this for free. I bought this, but pretend we got it for free.
And then I bought it.
And would this game be as a playable game in my top 40? Yeah. 30? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But when price to fun is taken into consideration, it's a little bit of a different conversation.
Yeah.
I think price not included, I'd probably rate this like an 8.5.
Yeah.
I think price included, and if I was to recommend someone to purchase this, it's probably closer to a 7, 6.5.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say I would rate this game overall on the BGG scale about an 8.5 or a 9 maybe.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it, and I like the quick aspect. I think most of my friends are going to really enjoy playing this type of game for multiple reasons. But yeah, again, like you said, like it was worth it for me to get it. I really like area control games though.
Yeah.
And I don't have many that can play this quick. So I was like, I'm taking this. This is good. This is good for me. Right? But it's pricey for what it is in the box. It's tough, right?
It's tough. Yeah. Anyway, this is Shits in Cardboard. I'm John.
I'm Jeff.
If you liked this video, like and subscribe. Tell us your thoughts below. If you bought this game, do you agree with us? What do you think? And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
See ya.
See ya.